This is a story about a retired hunter, Yoon I-jun, who opened a tavern in Seoul and pretends he's just pouring drinks. In reality, he's the legendary Mad Dog of Seoul, a monster in human form who smashes demons with his bare hands, cleans up the city from lone shark hunters, and accidentally becomes a dad to a half-elf girl who escaped from a hellish laboratory. Meanwhile, marshals investigate serial killers, orc cults, and demonic experiments, and anyone who touches his bar or his people gets knocked out with a single punch. A red light flashes against a darkening sky. A warning echoes through the quiet city streets, spreading through every alley and over every rooftop. The message is clear. A dungeon break has occurred. But while the world panics, one man is completely absorbed in his work. He finishes the final stroke with a quiet clatter. A satisfied smile spreads across his face. His project, a brand new hunter pub, is finally complete, because a dungeon break is the perfect time for a grand opening. But still, something feels off. He wonders why the streets of Seoul are completely empty. He slowly removes his headphones, and the sudden wall of sound nearly stops his heart. He jokingly asks if a dungeon just exploded. Guess those noise-canceling headphones were worth the money. But his offhand comment is confirmed by the horde of zombies below. He scans the area, trying to make sense of the situation, and a cold, determined look takes over his face. He wonders aloud where the so-called hunters are. Grabbing a crowbar, he decides they're too soft anyway. With a sharp crack of his knuckles, he gets ready. It seems he'll have to clean this mess up himself. After all, if he just leaves them alone, they might mess up his brand new pub. He brings his weapon down with brutal force and stands ready for more amidst the chaos. Another creature lunges at him from the darkness, but he dodges and counters without missing a beat. His grip tightens on the blood-stained crowbar. He's completely surrounded by the undead horde. He taunts them, saying troublemakers aren't welcome. He sees this as a good omen for his business and invites them all to try their luck. Standing atop a mountain of his foes, he's ready for more. 1 year passes in the blink of an eye, and his hunter pub, tavern, is finally open for business. Inside, a new customer seems incredibly upset. B-rank Marshal Cha Min-jung, whose greatest enemy is apparently Monday. She loudly complains about her soul-crushing job. Drowning her frustrations in a massive mug of ale, she admits that if it weren't for the money, she'd be long gone. Her companion, B-rank hunter Kim Hwan, offers an alternative, but she flatly refuses, calling the hunter profession far too ruthless. She argues that marshals only exist because hunters fail to do their jobs. He wearily explains that there are simply too many gates to handle. Unmoved, she tells him to just work harder for her sake. He scoffs, calling her a brute who can take down ogres with her bare hands, and she dares him to find out just how hard a brute can hit. A fresh drink is placed on the wooden bar, served by the tavern master, Yoon I-jun, who promptly tells his customers to take their lover's quarrel elsewhere. Their synchronized denial only seems to prove his point. He clutches his chest in mock despair, a true martyr to his single life. Kim Hwan wearily tells his companion to just ignore the master's teasing. But the owner's smug grin shows he's already won this round. He slides another drink over to the fuming marshal, who wastes no time in downing it completely. A look of pure bliss washes over her face. Kim Hwan questions her choice of a strong drink, while she fires back about his own peculiar taste. Undeterred, she orders another round from the master. But just as Yoon I-jun is about to reply, something catches his attention. The tavern's heavy wooden door begins to rattle violently, and is suddenly blown off its hinges with explosive force. The sudden intrusion leaves the three of them completely stunned. A hulking figure stumbles through the smoke, his eyes glowing with an eerie light. He demands their strongest bottle, arrogantly assuming everyone knows who he is. The intruder continues his nonsensical rambling, claiming to know their boss. But Kim Hwan and Cha Min-jung realize this is no ordinary drunk. The glowing eyes and violent aura are clear signs of mana infection. She suggests they handle him before he fully transforms. She tells Yoon I-jun to stay back, insisting this is their fight. But a cold blue light flashes in the tavern master's eye. He steps over the wreckage of his front door. His only thought is for his poor, defenseless door. Kim Hwan tries to de-escalate, offering to take the man outside. But the intruder refuses, insisting he'll drink right here. Cha Min-jung tries a different tactic, offering a rather forceful massage. Her eyes glow with a dangerous intensity, but the intruder responds by hurling a chair across the room. He snarls at them to stay out of his way. That's when Yoon I-jun decides he's heard enough, and lands a solid punch right on the man's jaw. Apparently, the truth can be considered defamation, but the intruder catches his next blow mid-swing. The man's grip is impossibly strong as he struggles. His rage intensifies, calling the tavern master an annoyance. Yoon Jun is stunned that his hits aren't landing. The intruder effortlessly throws him across the room, but Cha Min-jung steps in, her hand glowing with fire. She unleashes a powerful, fiery impact that engulfs the mana-infected man completely. The force of the blast sends him flying backward. She quickly turns to check if Yoon Jun is all right. He insists he's fine, just caught off guard for a moment. They realize this is no ordinary infected, but a high-tier threat. As he wishes for a weapon, she teases him about his earlier comment. She suggests they coordinate their attack, but the intruder warns them not to interfere, his voice filled with a deep, guttural rage. Cha Min-jung is stunned by his sudden surge of power. The man's transformation accelerates into a monstrous form. He unleashes a wave of raw power, sending them flying. The tavern is torn apart by the force of his landing. He utters a single cryptic number. She realizes he's fully demonic now, and they're unarmed. Kim Hwan can only resolve to protect the civilian tavern master. But instead of running, Yoon Jun takes a step forward. Kim Hwan can only watch in stunned silence. The hunters scream for him to get back, that it's too dangerous. They plead with the civilian to run for his life. The demonic creature simply roars for a drink. A cold blue light returns to the tavern master's eye. His customers call him insane, warning that even hunters would struggle. He calmly surveys the damage done to his establishment. His gaze falls upon the shattered remains of his front door. He clenches his fist, explaining that this is no way to treat a shop. The creature looms over him, issuing a final ultimatum. If he doesn't get a drink, the tavern master will die. Cha Min-jung can only watch in horror, helpless to intervene. But Yoon Jun doesn't even flinch. His gaze is cold, his eyes glowing with that same blue light. Kim Hwan is completely frozen in shock, as is Cha Min-jung, her jaw practically on the floor. And with blinding speed, Yoon Jun delivers some 5-star service. The monster's eyes widen in disbelief. Its entire body begins to crack and shatter from the impact. The creature's form shatters under the immense pressure. Kim Hwan and Cha Min-jung can only stare in utter disbelief. Yoon Jun calmly faces the towering monster. He cracks his knuckles, offering some friendly dental advice. The creature is momentarily confused by the threat. Before it can process the words, another devastating blow lands squarely on its chest. The impact echoes through the ruined tavern. The hulking beast stumbles back from the sheer force. It looks down, unable to comprehend the damage. He roars, questioning why people would ever come into his bar, just to slam their heads around and cause this much trouble. The creature's body goes limp, twitching one last time. He calmly straightens his tie, feeling much better now. He issues a simple, unspoken warning. Anyone who messes with his bar is in for a very bad time. Cha Min-jung can only stare, her mind completely blank. Kim Hwan is just as speechless, his composure shattered. Kim Hwan quietly suggests they never anger the tavern master. A lesson learned from the creature lying defeated on the floor. As Yoon Jun drags the body away, Cha Min-jung has a question. She wonders if he's truly just a retired B-rank hunter. Kim Hwan confirms that's what his official license says. Yoon Jun then gets Cha Min-jung's attention. He lays out his case for self-defense and an insurance claim, all while standing over the bagged-up remains of the intruder. He tells the twitching corpse to quiet down as the adults are talking. She looks on, completely unconvinced his life was ever in danger. He complains that troublemakers just don't know when to stay down. He then asks for the marshal's official opinion on the matter. Cha Min-jung confirms that the demon attacked first, and that her testimony will clear him of any wrongdoing. Yoon Jun smiles, glad he won't have to dismantle the station. Kim Hwan can only watch, thinking the tavern master is a total weirdo. He recalls that Yoon Jun has been strange since they first met. A memory flashes back to a voice telling him to wake up. It was Yoon Jun, asking why he was passed out in front of his new pub. Kim Hwan, beaten and bruised, could only look up from the ground. He was barely conscious, lying in the middle of the alley. He struggled to push himself up from the ground. He apologized for the disturbance, explaining that he'd blacked out and would leave immediately. But Yoon Jun simply offered him a hand. The battered hunter turns to walk away, but the tavern master stops him with a hand on his shoulder. He offers a drink, since alcohol is the best disinfectant, obviously. Kim Hwan looks back, completely bewildered by the offer. He finally notices the sign for the tavern hanging above the door. Kim Hwan politely refuses, admitting he's completely broke. But Yoon Jun just gives him a knowing smile. He declares the drink is on the house for his very first customer. Inside, the tavern is fully stocked with barrels of ale, chilled champagne, and a bottle of very expensive aged scotch. Kim Hwan hesitantly takes a sip of the offered drink. His face immediately twists in disgust. He complains about the strong, medicinal smell. Yoon Jun just grins, calling it a drink with character. He asks who could possibly enjoy such a foul-tasting drink. Yoon I-jun explains that it's an acquired taste, one his father also hated at first. The mention of his father catches Kim Hwan completely off guard. He asks how the tavern master could possibly know his father. Yoon I-jun casually confirms their connection, saying he owed the man a great deal. Kim Hwan looks down at his phone, lost in thought. The tavern master explains that Kim Hoon used to brag about his son all the time. He even shows him an old photo as proof of their connection. Kim Hwan is moved, admitting this is the first time he's met someone who knew his dad. Yoon I-jun simply says he's retired now, a relic from a different era. Kim Hwan swirls the strange medicinal drink in his glass. He questions the owner's casual attire and drinking on the job. But Yoon I-jun just smirks, declaring it's his place, his rules. He's even put up a closed sign because who needs to work on opening day? Kim Hwan admits this isn't the sharp image he had of a bartender. Yoon I-jun calls it one of the perks of being the boss. The tavern master then changes the subject, asking why he was beaten so badly. He assures the hunter that he doesn't have to answer if he doesn't want to. Kim Hwan reluctantly admits he was attacked by a loan shark. This surprises Yoon I-jun, who recalls that his brother made plenty of money. Kim Hwan explains his family's money was lost after his mother co-signed a loan, and then disappeared, leaving him to care for his younger sibling alone. Yoon I-jun questions how he fell behind on interest with a hunter's salary. The principal was only 10 million won, a sum he should have been able to handle. Yoon I-jun notes that a few good gate raids would have cleared that debt easily. But Kim Hwan reveals the predatory interest rate caused the debt to snowball to an impossible sum. Yoon I-jun's gaze hardens, understanding the predatory nature of the loan. The situation grew desperate when his sibling needed emergency surgery. With no other options, he turned to the infamous hunter loan sharks. Yoon I-jun is familiar with them. Illegal lenders run by other hunters. Yoon I-jun just smiles, claiming he was talking to himself. But a cold resolve settles in his eyes. He offers another drink, his decision already made. Across town, the loan sharks operate from a nondescript building, and soon Yoon I-jun steps out of his tavern. Meanwhile, Kim Hwan walks home, feeling relaxed for the first time in ages. He feels guilty for the free drinks, vowing to return with money. But his words seem to trigger a response. A menacing figure scoffs at the idea of him getting money. The very loan shark who holds his life in his hands. Kim Hwan stumbles through the empty city streets. The loan shark mocks his hope of ever getting money, asking if he truly believes that day will ever come. As he staggers away, two more figures block his path. They accuse him of having money for drinks but not for his debt. The thugs are eager to blow off some steam on him. The loan shark considers a more permanent form of persuasion, but his underling is quickly reminded that injured clients can't pay. Suddenly, the goblin-like goon notices someone else is there. A man they've never seen before stands watching them. It's none other than the tavern master, Yoon I-jun. The thugs can only stare in wide-eyed terror. As an iron grip closes around their faces, they scream in agony, completely helpless. Yoon I-jun holds them both aloft with casual ease. He smirks, telling them they're far too curious for their own good. Back at the loan shark headquarters, the evening is quiet. Inside, a strange, blue-skinned figure unwraps a small orb. He wonders aloud what's taking his underlings so long. The head of the operation, Baek Won-min, decides to give them a call. But a voice on the line tells him not to bother calling, as the delivery has just been made with explosive force. His men panic, wondering which rival crew is raiding them. A calm voice from the smoke corrects their assumption. It's just Yoon I-jun, here to return their missing employees. Baek Won-min looks down, unimpressed by the scene. His two goons are sprawled out on the floor, completely defeated. The loan shark finally looks up, asking for the intruder's name. The entire office is on edge, weapons at the ready. Yoon I-jun simply calls himself a bar owner taking out the trash. Baek Won-min scoffs, calling the intruder a lunatic. He warns that fearlessness comes with a heavy price. With a manic grin, he orders his men to attack. The thugs eagerly rush forward to obey. The entire office descends upon the lone bartender, but Yoon I-jun simply invites them to try. His eyes glow as he dares them to make a move. Kim Hwan recalls that with his debt gone, he thrived as a hunter. All the illegal hunter outfits that had plagued the city had vanished, though he didn't know why at the time. But now Kim Hwan finally understands. The reason for all the city's underworld problems vanishing was the arrival of the tavern master himself. But Yoon I-jun seems less than thrilled by the praise. He kicks the monster aside, telling them business is ruined for the day. As the sun sets over the city, the alley behind the tavern is now a restricted area. Inside, Yoon I-jun complains about getting an earful for his cleanup job. He's glad for insurance, but laments the lack of quiet days. But all that vigilante justice has clearly worked up an appetite. He decides to call it a night and grab some ramen. As he heads for the door, he ponders his dinner options. The most important decision of the night: what kind of ramen to eat. He steps outside, still lost in thought, until he notices something. His train of thought is completely derailed by the sight. A young woman is passed out right in front of his tavern, but the scene triggers a distant memory. A child's voice calling out. His vision blurs, focusing on a single word from the past. A little girl stands before him, presenting a gift with a proud smile. She happily announces that it's a birthday present for him. She expresses her deep gratitude for all he does. The memory is hazy, but the gift is clear. He's overcome with emotion, his hand tightening into a fist. She worries that he's hurt, but he's just happy to be her dad. His sudden sentimentality seems to embarrass her a little. He puts on the watch, admiring the thoughtful gift. She beams with pride, telling him to keep it somewhere special. The memory fades as his eyes snap open. He finds himself staring up at his bedroom ceiling. He wakes up, wondering if it was all just a dream. He wonders where his family went, lamenting his failure to find them. Suddenly, a small blonde-haired girl appears in his room. The surprise sends him stumbling backward onto his bed. He stares at her, trying to place the familiar face. He recognizes her as the child he brought in from the street. He brushes off her gratitude, saying he couldn't just leave her there. But as he tells her to rest, she reaches out with a strange intensity. Yoon Jun can only look on in confusion, before she lunges forward and bites him squarely on the neck. The story then flashes back to just 10 minutes earlier. The morning sun shines through the attic window. Inside, Yoon Jun sleeps on a cot beside a much larger bed. The young girl he rescued rests peacefully nearby. She slowly begins to stir from her sleep, wiping away the last traces of her slumber. She rubs her eyes, trying to clear her head. Her small hands clench as she prepares to wake up. She stretches with a cheerful morning greeting, but her cheerful demeanor quickly fades to confusion. She looks around, wondering where on earth she is. Her hand sinks into the soft, unfamiliar texture of the bed. She marvels at the squishy floor, a luxury she's never known. Her gaze then shifts, drawn to something else in the room. She spots Yoon Jun, sleeping soundly on a cot beside her. Sitting up, she wonders who this strange man could be. The situation triggers a sudden, vivid memory. A woman in a lab coat warns her about the dangers of strangers. The little girl asks what she should do if she's already been captured. The woman smiles, ready to impart some questionable wisdom. Her advice involves a jab to the eyes and a swift kick where it counts. She realizes with horror that she's been kidnapped. And just then, her supposed kidnapper begins to stir. She panics, trying to remember what she's supposed to do. Then, the woman's advice flashes through her mind. She prepares her fingers, aiming for his eyes, and lunges forward to execute the plan. Yoon Jun can only stare, completely caught off guard. She tackles him to the ground with surprising force. And so begins another peaceful morning at the tavern. As he reels from the attack, she proudly announces she's punishing him. Yoon Jun tearfully insists he's not a kidnapper, but she counters with her own brand of irrefutable logic. He then complains about her very aggressive self-defense tactics. She proudly explains she was just following instructions from someone named Iro. Yoon Jun can only stare, wondering who taught this child such things. He begins to seriously regret his decision to be a good Samaritan. The girl, meanwhile, is starting to see the upside to being kidnapped. He realizes with a strained smile that reasoning with her is pointless. So he points to the door, telling her she's free to leave. But the little girl just stands there looking completely lost. He asks what she's waiting for, telling her she's free to go. But her eyes widen as she admits she doesn't know what to do. Yoon Jun is taken aback by her simple, honest answer. The little girl clenches her small fist, struggling with the concept. She confesses that she has no idea what she's supposed to do now. The very idea of freedom seems completely alien to her. A flicker of understanding crosses Yoon Jun's face. His expression hardens with a newfound resolve. The two of them stand in a heavy, uncertain silence, a dramatic moment promptly ruined by a rumbling tummy. The girl loudly announces that she's hungry. A small, knowing smile crosses Yoon Jun's face. He decides they'll eat first and talk later. He promises to make her something delicious and nutritious. Her eyes light up at the very thought of food. Downstairs, the tavern is quiet and still. The barrels of ale wait for the day's business. And soon, he presents his nutritious meal, a strawberry roll cake. She doesn't hesitate for a single second, stuffing her face with pure, unadulterated joy. Her eyes go wide with pure, unadulterated shock. The first bite sends her into a state of absolute bliss. She declares that this is the most amazing thing she's ever tasted. A pink-haired woman watches on, impressed by the girl's appetite. She explains the irrefutable logic of having a separate stomach just for snacks. An orc priest named Kim Deok-bae arrives, agreeing that growing kids need to eat. But Yoon Jun's expression turns serious as he changes the subject. The woman confirms there are no missing elf child reports anywhere. He runs a hand through his hair, worried about what to do next. Kim Deok-bae explains that facilities are often cruel to non-human children. The pink-haired woman explains the girl is a half-elf, unwelcome by either race. Yoon Jun, annoyed, demands to know what they expect him to do. She suggests they keep searching while he watches the child for a while. He reacts with disbelief, questioning why he's being tasked with this. The pink-haired woman then accuses him of planning to abandon the girl. Kim Deok-bae agrees, finding the idea of sending her to a facility too harsh. Yoon Jun, exasperated, argues that caring for a child is not an easy task. Meanwhile, the little girl happily offers Yoon Jun some of the delicious cake. He looks down, a hint of surprise and embarrassment on his face. His expression shows he's flustered by her innocent generosity. He reluctantly turns, deciding to see what's so special about this cake. His friends, however, see right through his tough guy act. They decide to enjoy a drink while he's busy with his new ward. The pink-haired woman savors her beverage with a blissful smile, and Kim Deok-bae seems just as pleased with his own choice. He pours himself another bowl of traditional rice wine. His companion questions his unusual drink selection for a tavern. He explains his preference, casually calling her Nuna. A single word causes a dangerous twitch in her eye. She furiously reminds him never to call her that again. She reminds him that at 26, she's a year his senior. She complains that everything about him gets on her nerves. He can only offer a weary, unapologetic shrug. Their bickering echoes as the scene shifts outside the tavern. Later, a small bowl of food is carefully placed on the ground. The little girl sits patiently, offering the meal. She happily tells the recipient to eat up. Her audience is a small, stray cat who seems very grateful. The cat eagerly digs in as she watches over it. She asks if the cat is all alone, impressed by its independence. Yoon Jun watches on as the girl seems to have a full conversation with the cat. He's stunned, admitting the stray is usually terrified of everyone but him. But then, the girl's attention is suddenly drawn elsewhere. She wanders off down the alley, leaving him to follow. At the end of the street, she stops, noticing something has opened. Under the bright, clear sky, a shimmering blue gate has materialized in the middle of the road. The pink-haired woman and a man with a stitched face arrive on the scene. He wearily explains they're overworked and should be grateful it's an easy gate. But she's furious, realizing this just means more overtime for her. He laments that overtime would be a blessing. As a gate rampage ruins everyone's day off, the three of them stare down the shimmering blue portal. Behind them, an entire task force stands ready for the fight. The soldiers lock and load, their faces grim. Their commander Lee Yun-young barks out the warning. The first weapon flies out from the other side, followed by a horde of skull-faced goblins. But a wall of fire rushes forward to greet them. The first wave is incinerated before they can even take a step. The commander, Lee Yun-young, unleashes her fiery magic. She taunts the creatures, clearly unimpressed by their hygiene. Her task force responds instantly, ready to open fire. The soldiers unleash a hail of bullets upon the goblin horde. The initial wave is cut down with brutal efficiency, but more creatures pour out from the gate, undeterred. The stitched face man questions a goblin's wandering gaze. He warns that in the middle of combat, a flash of golden light is the last thing they'll see. If they dare to take their eyes off of him, the stitched face man issues a simple, deadly promise. A single goblin meets its end in a flash, and with one swift motion, the rest are cut to pieces. Meanwhile, the pink-haired woman prepares a spell of her own. A snap of her fingers unleashes a torrent of flames. She scoffs at the arrogance of such weak creatures. Her partner questions her dramatic flair, which she admits she stole from a comic. He calls her a geek, but she's quick to fire back. She then proposes a friendly competition to settle the score. He accepts, already tasting his victory in the free drinks. She flashes a confident smirk, ready to claim her prize. Back at the tavern, a mug slams down with a heavy thud. She shouts in disbelief, realizing she's just lost by a single point. Her expression sours as she points an accusing finger. She can only cry in defeat as her partner gloats over his victory. He happily declares he'll enjoy his hard-earned free drink. Yoon Jun watches the friendly banter with a small smile. But then a thought suddenly crosses his mind. It's been over an hour since his friends left to handle the gate. The little girl, however, is completely absorbed in a cute video. He dismisses the thought, figuring it's just a coincidence. After all, dungeon breaks are just a part of daily life. Just then, the tavern door handle begins to turn. A new customer steps inside with a quiet clank. Yoon Jun begins to offer a standard welcome, but his face falls when he sees who it is. The newcomer has apparently made quite a mess of himself. The stitched-faced man erupts, demanding to know what happened. The pink-haired woman can only stare, calling him chairman. Her partner looks on, completely bewildered by the title. The stitched-faced man can only question the title. The newcomer removes his sunglasses with a confident grin. He greets them both, noting their old-school connection. Kim Hwan breaks into a cold sweat, recognizing the man's authority. S-rank hunter Baek Chil-gu, chairman of the Hunter Association. He asks them to leave, as he has business with the tavern master. Yoon I-jun's gaze remains cold and unreadable. The stitched-faced man quickly agrees, grabbing his partner to leave. She protests, but he tells her to read the room for once. With a reluctant sigh, she finally gives in. The stitched-faced man politely thanks the chairman for his offer. His partner celebrates the free drinks, but he reminds her she still lost their bet. Yoon I-jun then tells the little girl to head upstairs as well. She looks up at the imposing chairman with wide, curious eyes. Baek Chil-gu looks down at the small, blonde-haired child. She offers him a bright, innocent smile, and the powerful S-rank hunter returns it with surprising warmth. She then scurries up the stairs with her tablet held high. The chairman watches her go, remarking on her boundless energy. Back at the bar, a glass is slammed down with a heavy thud. He pours a drink, ordering his usual with a knowing look. The chairman smiles, pleased that his old friend remembers. But Yoon I-jun reveals a much deeper connection, calling him Big Brother. The story then shifts, explaining how only 1% of humanity awakened to incredible, world-altering abilities. Their power was enough to fight back the monsters and form new systems for survival. These individuals were called hunters, and they formed powerful guilds. But with too many gates to handle, some were left to fester, causing dungeon breaks. This crisis forced the profession to split into two distinct types. The first were the regular hunters, who focused on conquering gates. And then there were the marshals, who worked for the nation. The one who established the laws to protect society and brought order to the chaos is the legendary S-rank hunter, Baek Chil-gu. And this very man, the guardian of the nation, is the one who calls our unassuming tavern master Yoon I-jun, his big brother. Yoon I-jun asks if the chairman knew he was here. The chairman confirms it because of course he did. He takes a sip, praising the drink with a wide grin. The chairman reveals that Yoon I-jun wasn't exactly subtle in his past, earning him the fearsome nickname Seoul's Mad Dog, a title Yoon I-jun clearly despises despite its accuracy. The chairman admits that his vigilante justice was a huge help. But Yoon I-jun changes the subject, asking how long it's been. It's been 20 years since he left to find someone named Seo Ah. He then asks if the chairman's senses ever returned. Baek Chil-gu confirms he still can't smell or taste a thing. So naturally, Yoon I-jun questions serving him the good stuff. But the chairman just laughs, saying he can still appreciate the quality. He wonders why a man who loved wine would make such a contract. But the chairman has no regrets, having traded 2 senses for even greater power. He then changes the subject, asking if Yoon I-jun ever found Seo Ah. The tavern master turns away, admitting he can't find a single trace of his daughter. The chairman questions his resolve, noting that after 20 long years, but Yoon I-jun cuts him off with a sharp command. The S-rank hunter is stunned by his sudden intensity. Yoon I-jun declares he'll only stop searching for her on the day he dies. The chairman grins, remarking that he's as intense as ever for a retired man. He adds that for someone who doesn't seem to age, talk of death is meaningless. Yoon I-jun cuts through the pleasantries, asking the real reason for his visit. The chairman plays it off as a simple family visit, but Yoon I-jun isn't buying it. Baek Chil-gu admits that only half of his reason is sincere. The other half, he implies with a grin, is all business. A heavy silence hangs between the two men. Yoon I-jun waits patiently for the chairman to get to the point. But before Baek Chil-gu can answer, a sudden noise from upstairs catches his attention. The little girl comes flying down from the 2nd floor, demanding food with all the subtlety of a dungeon break. He tries to push her away, but her demands for food are relentless. With a sigh, he gets to work in the kitchen, chopping with precision. He fires up the stove with practiced ease, and begins to whip up a quick meal for his unexpected guest. The delicious aroma quickly fills the air, and his new ward is clearly impressed by his culinary skills. But her patience is already wearing thin. He calmly tells her to behave if she wants to eat. The playful moment ends as his expression hardens, and the chairman finally asks about the artificial hunter project. Yoon I-jun asks if this is like the demon's old experiments. The chairman explains the side effect is mana addiction. While the success rate is low, a good match can create a powerful hunter. He admits that while unconfirmed, all signs point to the demons. Yoon I-jun's gaze hardens, demanding the point of all this. The chairman reveals a disturbing new development in their research. They're creating homunculi by forcing crossbreeding between races. The revelation leaves Yoon Ijun completely stunned. He argues that such genetic manipulation is nearly impossible. The chairman agrees, calling it an insane project with a horrific death toll. Yoon Ijun can only express his utter disgust. He asks why he's being told all this, since he's no longer a hunter. The chairman reveals he's already investigated the little girl, but even with all his resources, he found absolutely nothing. Yoon Ijun questions why that should be a problem. The chairman explains that in this day and age, it's impossible to be that untraceable, which leaves only two grim possibilities. She's either a refugee from another world or a product of those horrific experiments. Yoon Ijun listens in heavy silence, his expression unreadable. The chairman admits it's more likely she's just a lost child who wandered through a gate. But he adds that if something does happen, he's sure Yoon Ijun can handle it. He just wanted to stop by and give him a heads up. Yoon Ijun quietly thanks him for the information. The chairman sets down his now empty glass. He flashes a wide grin, saying he'll enjoy the drink, and promises to visit more often from now on. Yoon Ijun simply tells him to suit himself as he leaves. The door clicks shut, leaving the tavern in silence. His gaze drifts downward, his mind racing. He wonders aloud just who this little girl really is, but his thoughts quickly turn back to Baek Chil-gu. Apparently, even the chairman of the Hunter Association skips the bill. He places the freshly made meal in front of the little girl. She eagerly takes her first bite of kimchi fried rice. Her cheeks puff out, savoring the new taste. And her eyes go wide with absolute, unfiltered joy. She's completely overwhelmed by the delicious flavors. Yoon Ijun just smirks, proud of his culinary masterpiece. But as she eats, he reflects on the chairman's warning. Whatever the truth is, he knows one thing: she has a home here. Meanwhile, across the city, another crisis is unfolding. A massive fire rages through an apartment building. An explosion rips through the upper floors. As the inferno grows more intense with every second, a mother screams in terror, calling out for her daughter. She pleads with the first responders, telling them a child is still inside. One of the firefighters is ready to charge in immediately, but his captain warns him that entering the blaze is suicide. The young man refuses to back down, reminding them of their oath to protect people. His passionate plea hangs heavy in the air, but his captain grabs him, telling a firefighter named Kim Jin-soo to get a grip. He reminds the young man of a comrade who died just last month in a similar blaze. He pleads with him to know the difference between bravery and recklessness. The harsh words seem to snap Kim Jin-soo back to reality. He can only stare, helpless, at the wall of fire before him. But a hand suddenly rests on his shoulder. A calm voice tells him to move aside. It's Cha Min-jung, declaring she'll go in to save the little girl. The captain immediately tries to stop her, warning of the extreme danger. But she simply flashes her hunter license, saying there's no time for introductions. She confirms the child's location with the firefighter, and without a moment's hesitation, she walks into the inferno. The young firefighter asks if they should stop her, but his captain explains that she's a B-rank marshal. He says that people like her are on a completely different level. Just then, another explosion rips through the building. The firefighters flinch back from the intense heat. The mother screams, terrified for her child's safety. The flames continue to rage, seemingly unstoppable. The entire building is now a towering inferno. The fire rages, consuming everything in its path. The firefighters can only watch in horror. As the inferno grows even more intense, the mother's face is a mask of pure terror. But then, a figure emerges from the blaze. Cha Min-jung calmly walks out, reassuring the stunned firefighter. She holds the child safely in her arms. She reunites the girl with her mother, explaining she's just unconscious. A crowd of onlookers has gathered, drawn by the commotion. Among them, a man in a black cap watches with a cold, tired expression. His gaze is cold, completely unimpressed by the heroic display. The mother thanks Cha Min-jung with tears in her eyes. The crowd looks on, their faces filled with awe and gratitude. But the marshal just runs a hand through her hair, realizing that being a hero is a massive pain in the neck. Back at the tavern, the evening is much quieter. Yoon Ijun carefully measures out the ingredients for a cocktail. He shakes the mixture with practiced rhythmic precision and presents the finished drink, a perfect sidecar. A new customer with long, dark hair takes a thoughtful sip. C-rank Marshal Kim Min-soo declares the drink is delicious, as always. Yoon Ijun smugly accepts the praise, asking what else he'd expect. But his companion, a pink-haired marshal named Min-jung, is clearly sulking. Yoon Ijun playfully complains about all the whining in his establishment. Kim Min-soo tells her to let it go, since she's already off the clock. She argues that she couldn't just stand by and watch someone die. He agrees she did the right thing, but she's still fuming about her captain. She vents about being cornered and yelled at for 30 minutes straight. She questions how a high-ranking hunter with zero field sense can lead a squad. Taking a deep drink, she tells Kim Min-soo that he should have been the captain. She insists that Kim Min-soo is the best on their team when it comes to results, but he dismisses the idea, pointing to his low C rank. He explains that no hunter will follow orders from someone they see as weak. She looks away, touched by his unwavering support for her. He then gets her attention, his expression growing more serious. He reassures her that she did nothing wrong back at the fire. He reminds her that without her, the child would have died. The thought of his own daughter in that situation terrifies him. He tells her to cheer up, trying to lift her spirits. He then glances at his watch, surprised by how late it's gotten. She suddenly remembers it's his daughter's birthday. As he leaves, he tells her to take it easy on the drinks. With a final wave, Kim Min-soo heads out for the night. Yoon Ijun remarks that he seems like a great boss. Min Young agrees, calling him the marshal she respects the most. The tavern master quietly agrees that rank doesn't define a person. She turns back to the bar, her mood shifting slightly, and orders another sidecar for herself, making it a double. Elsewhere in the city, the night deepens over a quiet building. The camera pans down a maze of pipes and vents in a dark alley. A hand slaps against the grimy alley floor. Kim Min-soo lies on the ground, beaten and bleeding. His attacker glares down, blaming him for his own misery. He rants about the unfairness of a world where hunters are born into power. He screams that all he wanted was a taste of that good life. But his victim's silence only fuels his rage. Kim Min-soo doesn't move, his suit stained with his own blood. The attacker's eye begins to glow with a familiar, dangerous light. He raises his bat, promising to make the marshal talk. But the C-rank marshal remains completely still. The final blow lands with sickening force, leaving Kim Min-soo's body broken in the alley. As dawn breaks over the city, the grim reality of the night is revealed. The area is quickly cordoned off by investigators. A team of marshals arrives to process the scene. Among them is Min Jung, her expression unreadable. She takes in the brutal aftermath of the attack. Her face is a mask of cold, controlled fury. She clutches the blood-stained shirt of her fallen comrade. In his pocket, a photo of the very daughter he was rushing home to. Min Jung grits her teeth, her sorrow hardening into pure rage. At the hospital, his daughter pleads for him to wake up. The monitors show he's alive, but barely hanging on. An oxygen mask covers his face. As Kim Min-soo lies unconscious in a hospital bed, his daughter clutches her hands, her small frame trembling. She reminds him of his promise to celebrate her birthday. Tears stream down her face, her heart completely broken. She can only slump over his bed, her hope fading with every passing moment. Min Young stands with a doctor, watching the heartbreaking scene. She asks for an update on his condition. The doctor explains that while his external wounds are healed, his internal injuries were so severe he remains unconscious. Min Young's face hardens, taking in the grim prognosis. Her gaze falls upon his daughter, lost in her grief, and a fiery rage ignites in her eyes as she makes a silent vow. The person who did this will face her full, unbridled wrath. Later, she storms through an alley, her mind set on vengeance. But from the shadows, an unknown figure captures her on camera. The city lights dim over the hospital. Inside, Kim Min-soo's daughter keeps a lonely vigil. She cries over her father's bed, calling him a dummy for breaking his promise. A gentle hand drapes a jacket over her small shoulders. It's Yoon Ijun, who has come to pay his respects. He watches the scene with a heavy, unreadable expression. The marshal remains unresponsive, lost to the world. Yoon Ijun stands silently in the corner of the room, but a small hand suddenly tugs on his coat. The little girl he rescued looks up, asking for his attention. The little girl admits she has a bad feeling about Min Jung. A cold understanding flashes in Yoon Ijun's eye. The girl's own gaze seems to mirror his concern. He quietly confirms her fears are justified. He knows all too well where this path leads. Later that night, under a crescent moon, Min Jung stakes out a derelict industrial building. The place is clearly a hideout for some unsavory types. She takes a moment to eat, lost in thought. Because even a revenge mission requires a proper meal break. Inside, a man sits calmly enjoying his meal. All around him are the brutal results of his handiwork. His victims lie broken and defeated on the floor, but he's more concerned with the quality of his shrimp ramen. This is Ryu So-hyun, the man she's been hunting. Min Young goes over his file, a career criminal with a long history. She steps through the carnage, confirming he's the lowest of the low. The report notes he escaped police using superhuman abilities. He's an unregistered awakened, likely through illegal demon infection, and a faint cold light glints in his eye. A memory of the fire flashes through her mind. Ryu So-hyun recognizes her, mocking her for even speaking. She stands over his victims, placing him under arrest for his crimes. But her declaration is met with a chilling, manic laugh. He sneers at her, calling her another high and mighty awakened. He questions if she really thinks he'll just roll over and surrender. She simply calls him trash that learned how to talk. She reads him his rights with a few creative edits of her own. Her cold demeanor only seems to fuel his rage. He screams that she only got lucky at birth. He snarls at her not to look down on him, and with a furious scream, he brings his weapon down. But Min-jung is completely unimpressed by his outburst. He swings with enough force to shatter bone, but she stops it cold with a single, well-placed fist. His attack is met with a wall of pure, unyielding power. The shock and rage are clear on his face. She meets his gaze without a hint of fear. She grabs him by the collar, questioning his hesitation, and then delivers a punishing blow right to his face. She follows up with a swift kick to his side. The force sends him stumbling backward. His face contorts in pain and disbelief. Before he can recover, she brings her heel down hard. She mocks him for all his tough talk about luck. Another blow sends him crashing to the ground. She questions how he could beat a C-rank hunter with this pathetic display, but her words only stoke the fires of his rage. She tells him to get up because the real punishment is just beginning. Her knuckles crack, ready to deliver some street justice. Another punch connects with brutal force. He staggers back, completely off balance. But a manic grin spreads across his face. He lunges forward with a furious scream, but she finds his attack laughably slow, weak, and sloppy as she catches his fist. She twists his arm, landing a counter of her own. She questions how such a weakling could be a threat, and drives her fist deep into his gut. He reels back from the blow, his eyes glowing with rage. She flips through the air as he's sent crashing to the ground. The force of his landing shatters the concrete around her, but she lands without a scratch, her gaze fixed on her target. She stands over his defeated form, surrounded by the wreckage. She asks what he's waiting for, her voice dripping with contempt. Cracking her knuckles, she tells him this is far from over, but his eyes now glow with a strange, swirling pattern. He snarls, accusing her of looking down on him, and for the first time, a flicker of surprise crosses her face. He screams in defiance as her fist connects, but Min-jung senses a sudden shift in his power. A dark energy begins to swell from his body, erupting in a wave of raw demonic force. A monstrous skeletal form emerges from the smoke, and for the first time, Min-jung looks truly stunned. The creature lunges, its attack impossibly fast. It catches her off guard, its grip like iron. She struggles, unable to break free from its hold. As the monster prepares to deliver a final crushing blow, the demonic creature lands with an eerie grace. Its shadowy form contorts in midair. It twists its body with unnatural flexibility, its limbs bending at impossible angles, before it finally straightens up, settling into a low, predatory stance. He declares that playtime is officially over. Min-jung simply spits in defiance, completely unfazed. She notes that now his demonic nature is confirmed. She no longer has any reason to hold back. She summons a ball of fire, ready for a real fight. The creature dives toward her with a furious roar, but her gaze is cold, her focus absolute. She sidesteps the attack with incredible speed. The monster's lunge meets only empty air and finds itself caught in her fiery trap. A powerful blast erupts from her palm, shattering its bony mask completely. She prepares to unleash a series of chained explosions, engulfing the demon in a massive fiery inferno. The creature roars in agony as the flames consume it. Min-jung unleashes a second more powerful blast, but the demon's pained screams suddenly stop. A flicker of shock crosses Min-jung's face. The creature is no longer screaming, but smirking. She stares in disbelief as it seems to enjoy the heat. It begins to devour her flames, consuming the very magic she wields. She can't believe what she's seeing. The demon taunts her, complimenting the taste of her fire, and before she can react, it lands a devastating blow. The demon thanks her for the meal, feeling more energized than ever. Min-jung is stunned by its sudden increase in speed. She struggles to block a relentless barrage of attacks. The creature presses its advantage, giving her no room to breathe. She crosses her arms, barely holding back the assault. She realizes its moves are sharper, its hits heavier than before. Its power level is now pushing the upper limits of a B-rank threat. But Min-jung isn't ready to give up just yet. She unleashes another powerful blast of fire, but the attack only shatters a layer of its hardened skin. Min-jung stands her ground, her expression hardening. The demon practically breathes fire, savoring her power. It taunts her, daring her to try hitting it even harder. It seems to want her to use her flames again, just one more time. She can only call it a freak, stunned by its strange ability. The creature grabs her by the shirt and slams her into the ground with immense force. She knows she's faster, but his raw strength is on another level. Worse yet, her fire only seems to make him stronger. So she switches tactics, landing a powerful kick to its jaw. The creature's eye glows, completely unfazed by the blow. Min-young realizes she has to accept this new reality and focus, knowing one clean hit could end her for good. The demon looms over her, mocking her for thinking mid-fight, but her sudden burst of speed catches it completely off guard. She moves in a blur, pushing past her physical limits, and unleashes a powerful uppercut from below. But the demon counters, landing a vicious blow of its own. Her gaze remains fixed, her will completely unbroken. But the damage is done, her hand now covered in blood. She looks down, realizing just how bad the damage is. He rants about how everyone always looked down on him. But now, with this power, no one will ever sneer at him again. He arrogantly tells her to beg for her life. Apparently begging for mercy isn't on the agenda today. Her defiance only seems to confuse the creature. She offers a very clear, unspoken response to his offer. A final act of defiance that sends him into a rage. A weary smile crosses her face as she accepts her fate. Her last thoughts are of her friends, hoping for a miracle. She closes her eyes, ready for the end. But a final spark of defiance flashes in her gaze. Just then, a figure appears, stopping the demon's final blow. Min-young can only stare, recognizing the tavern master. The creature snarls, demanding to know who dares to interfere. But Yoon-jun's cold gaze asks the very same question. He wonders who would dare mess with one of his precious regulars. Min-young is completely frozen in shock. Her mind struggles to comprehend what's happening. And the little girl arrives with a potion, sent by the mister. The girl holds up a familiar-looking healing potion. Min-young thanks the child, calling her Ruri. She asks the little girl to close her eyes for a moment. A pained but determined look crosses her face. Her resolve hardens as she makes a difficult choice. She knows the potion would heal her mangled hand instantly, but she realizes there's no other choice. With a grunt of pure agony, she endures the unimaginable pain and makes a terrible sacrifice to free herself. Her eyes burn with a fierce, pained resolve. Her hand is a mangled mess, but she is finally free. She quickly uncorks the healing potion and downs the entire thing, clearly not savoring the flavor. She gasps as the potent magic courses through her. A look of grim determination settles on her face. Her mangled hand begins to knit itself back together. The speed of the healing confirms it's a high-grade potion. With her hand now fully restored, she gently covers Ruri's eyes and tells the little girl that it's safe to look now. Min-young thanks the little girl, calling her a lifesaver. Ruri beams, vowing to repay this kindness for generations to come. Meanwhile, Yoon-jun's grip remains completely unbreakable. The demon can only snarl in helpless, impotent rage. It struggles violently, demanding to be released. But the tavern master's gaze is cold and unyielding. He swings the creature through the air with casual ease and slams it into the ground with devastating force. He calmly chides the demon for struggling so much. The impact shatters the concrete floor beneath it. The creature lies embedded in the shattered floor. He tells the creature to get up. Before launching it across the warehouse, Min-young can only watch, impressed by his aim. The impact leaves a cloud of smoke and fire, but the demon rises from the flames undeterred. It snarls, vowing that it will never forgive him, and unleashes a torrent of fire from its mouth. Yoon-jun watches the approaching inferno without a flicker of concern. He raises a hand as if to stop the flames. He casually notes the demon's fire breath attack, and with a condescending smirk he calls it cute. A simple wave of his hand scatters the inferno. Min-young shields Ruri, watching in disbelief. She can't believe he nullified the attack with just air pressure. The demon looks around, completely bewildered. It frantically searches for its vanished opponent, but Yoon-jun is already behind him, demanding his attention. He brings his heel down with bone-shattering force and scolds the creature like a child who's misbehaved. The creature can only snarl, questioning how this is even possible. Its glowing red eye burns with pure, unadulterated rage. But Yoon-jun just lectures it on the importance of manners. He realizes that words are completely wasted on this one. The demon's hateful glare remains fixed on him. Yoon-jun calmly explains that it has made two critical mistakes. He then delivers a swift kick because apparently listening is also a problem. He decides it's a hopeless case that will have to learn the hard way. The creature struggles to its feet, still defiant. Yoon-jun prepares to explain the first of its many failures. His first mistake was messing with one of his regulars. The demon reels back, stunned by the sudden lecture. His second was getting in the way of a father on his daughter's birthday. The creature suddenly has a moment of clarity, realizing it might be in the wrong. His third mistake was making that little girl cry, and his fourth was putting the tavern master in a very bad mood. He unleashes a furious barrage of blows, sending the demon flying. Min-young wisely covers Ruri's eyes, as this is clearly not a kid-friendly beatdown. The demon weakly points out that he only mentioned 2 mistakes at first. Yoon I-jun's cold glare dares him to question the math. He stands over the twitching remains, feeling much better now. Min-young can only stare at the one-sided beatdown of a B-rank demon. She wonders who this man is, who fights with only his bare fists. Yoon I-jun just offers a cool, unbothered expression. He turns to her, noting that her wounds have healed nicely. She's flustered, still trying to process what just happened. He simply tells her not to worry, calling it a freebie for regulars. After all, he's just your friendly neighborhood tavern master. He tells her to pay him back with future business as he leaves with Ruri. Min-young is left alone in the wreckage, completely speechless. The warehouse stands silent under the night sky. The moon watches over the sleeping city as the scene shifts to a quiet hospital. Inside, Kim Min-soo's daughter keeps her lonely vigil. Her father's hand lies still and unresponsive. But then, a single finger begins to twitch. His eyes slowly begin to flutter open. And for the first time in days, he sees the world again. He weakly raises his hand, trying to make sense of it all. The IV drip confirms he's alive, but far from well. His daughter sleeps soundly by his side, exhausted from her vigil. He gently strokes her hair, a silent promise fulfilled. She stirs in her sleep, a small, contented smile on her face. Her eyes slowly begin to flutter open, and she looks up to see her father, finally awake. He apologizes for making her worry for so long. Her eyes go wide with shock and disbelief. Tears of pure relief begin to stream down her face. She cries out his name and throws herself into his arms. And for a moment, all is right in the world again. The scene shifts to a memory, as a heavy metal door slides open. A woman in a lab coat leads a much younger Ruri down a sterile corridor. The little girl struggles to keep up, panting from exhaustion, but her companion urges her onward, telling her to hang on. The woman swipes a keycard, desperate to open the next door. She tells Ruri to go on ahead without her. The little girl runs for the exit as the woman turns to face their pursuer. A look of grim resolve settles on her face, as a hulking red-skinned demon blocks her path. It snarls, ready to tear apart anything in its way. The woman Iroh holds back the shadowy beast, telling Ruri to run. Her expression is a mask of grim determination. She pulls out a small, familiar object and gives the little girl one final, critical instruction. Her hand crackles with energy as she warns of the consequences, telling Ruri to run far away and finally live free. The memory fades as Ruri wakes up, calling out Iroh's name. Back in the lab, a heavy door is smashed from its frame. Iroh uses her power to trigger the emergency lockdown, sealing the door and buying Ruri the time she needs to escape. Ruri looks back in horror, asking if Iroh is coming too. But Iroh holds her ground, telling the child she's smart enough to understand. She offers one last sad smile, urging her to run. The little girl can only watch as the door seals her protector away. She's left completely alone in the cold, sterile hallway. Tears stream down her face as the reality sets in. Her small hands press against the door, refusing to leave. She collapses against the metal, reminding Iroh of their promise to escape together. Her cries echo through the empty corridor, her heart completely broken. The memory fades, leaving only the quiet of the night sky. And so another peaceful morning dawns over the tavern. Inside, Yoon I-jun dreams of being too full to eat, a dream that's shattered by a pillow to the face. He wakes to find Ruri giggling at his expense. His expression says it all. This kid is a menace. But she just offers a bright and cheerful good morning. The morning routine now includes a pillow fight and a lecture. She proudly introduces herself as Lee Ruri, age 12, and casually mentions she was born as a secret lab experiment, all while brushing her teeth with what looks like chocolate toothpaste. The two of them continue their morning routine in perfect sync. After a quick rinse, they get ready for the day. Ruri explains that she can sense mana, feeling it when a gate is about to tear open, and right on cue, she feels another one opening up. Her senses are immediately confirmed by a buzzing phone, displaying an official warning about a gate surge in the district. She calls out to Yoon I-jun, whose gaze remains fixed and unreadable. She then makes a casual prediction about who will be visiting them today. But of course, her primary concern is earning her keep by demanding food. Elsewhere, the stitched face man thinks about his benefactor, Yoon I-jun, the mysterious man known only as the Tavern Master. He's a bit strange, but a good person who never crosses the line. Sometimes he's like a hero from a story, dealing with problems alone. Ruri proudly remembers helping him save Min-jung with her potion. She notes that he grumbles, but always does what she asks. She finally finds the perfect word to describe him: a total pushover. But her musings are cut short by the arrival of breakfast. Yoon I-jun simply tells her to eat quietly. She beams, thanking him for the delicious meal. And with a single steaming spoonful, her theory is confirmed. He's all bark and no bite. She declares that he's the best cook she's ever met, and wonders why he's too lazy to put food on the menu. In the blink of an eye, the bowl is completely empty. She pats her full stomach, thanking him for the meal. He tells her to clean up, and she happily runs off to do her part. Her part, of course, is just leaving the dishes in the sink. As the day wears on, the tavern prepares for business, and soon the usual crowd begins to gather at the bar. The stitched-faced man and his pink-haired partner are already there, while Ruri watches on, taking in the scene with wide, curious eyes. Ruri excitedly demands one of the big kid drinks for herself, but Yoon Jun shuts her down, telling her to come back in 10 years. Her relentless begging eventually wears down his resolve. His friends chime in, warning him not to spoil the kid, and for a moment he seems to consider their point, but Ruri's pouty glare is far more convincing. With a sigh, he decides one little drink couldn't hurt. He begins to prepare a special concoction for his youngest customer, the legendary Shirley Temple, a drink made for kids at grown-up parties. He explains its origin, a mocktail created for a child star who couldn't have the real thing. He suggests the original Shirley Temple probably begged for a drink just like her. Ruri holds her very first cocktail, her heart pounding with anticipation. She takes a hesitant, curious sip, and her entire world is changed in an instant. She declares it's the most delicious thing she's ever tasted. He tries to tell her to make it herself, but she's already planning to ask him again. His friends just laugh, knowing he's too much of a pushover to refuse. Ruri showers him with praise, calling him the best. But then, her expression turns serious as she asks him to keep her secrets. She's terrified that if the truth gets out, she'll be abandoned all over again. She asks him to promise to keep her secret safe. Elsewhere, the scene shifts to a local gym, a place where strength is forged and tested. A young man prepares for a personal challenge. His friend hypes him up, ready for the big lift. He grips the bar, his muscles screaming in protest. His face twists with pure, unadulterated effort. He struggles to raise the impossibly heavy barbell, and with a final triumphant roar, he does it. He celebrates his new personal record with his friend. He's overcome with emotion, having finally hit his goal. A full year of hard work has finally paid off, but their celebration is cut short by a quiet request. The young man quickly offers to clear the weights, but the pink-haired woman says there's no need, as this is just right for her. The two friends can only stare, trying to warn her of the heavy load. She calmly steps up to the bar, ignoring their concern. Her gaze hardens with a quiet intensity, and she lifts the weight without a hint of struggle, leaving the two gym bros completely speechless. She continues her set, leaving the two men completely baffled. They can only watch, losing count as she easily passes 10 reps, but her mind isn't on the workout at all. She's completely consumed by thoughts of the tavern master. She recalls his impossible speed, far beyond any retired B rank, and the priceless healing potion he gave her without a second thought. She hates being in debt, and now she owes him her very life. The frustration boils over as she wonders who he really is. Meanwhile, the gym bros have a new mystery to solve as she finishes an insane number of reps. But her train of thought is suddenly interrupted by a buzzing phone. She answers a call, her expression shifting to one of concern. The scene shifts to another part of the city, a district known as Orktown in Yongsan-gu, where a news report warns of a new cult spreading across Korea. A man with a scarred face arrives at their supposed gathering site, but the scene he finds is far from a peaceful prayer meeting. A bloodied hand lies motionless on the floor, belonging to a man who has been brutally attacked. The scarred man stands over the body, taking in the scene, and casually blows a bubble, completely unfazed by the carnage. The victim had been taken apart with brutal efficiency. Min Jung and her stitched-faced partner arrive to investigate. She analyzes the deep wounds, suggesting a skilled attacker, but her instincts tell her something is off. The victim was a D-rank hunter, meaning the killer is far from ordinary. She realizes this is a hunter-on-hunter crime, a case for the marshals. She teases him about the overtime, demanding a heavy drink as payment. He explains the body was found that morning in the Hwarang Guild Hall. Their first move was to raise a barrier to keep the scene hidden from the public. She calls it a smart move as he prepares for the next step. He reveals this is just the latest in a string of similar attacks. All victims were low-rank hunters, and the suspect is at least a B rank. Min Jung complains that B ranks seem to be causing all the trouble lately, but her partner notes that something else about this case is strange. He explains that while hunter-on-hunter crime isn't rare, it usually happens inside dungeons where the evidence disappears. This killer, however, chose a very public location. Min Jung wonders if their suspect is an unregistered awakened. He agrees, noting that some avoid registration to stay off the grid. The victim was a D-rank hunter who went missing 3 days ago. He was the youngest member of her team, a promising rookie. Her partner admits he wants to hunt the killer down himself, But a conveniently timed dungeon raid means he has to pass the case to her. She pats his shoulder, reminding him this is a marshal's job anyway. He puts his trust in her completely, and she accepts the case with a determined smirk. As the hours tick by, the investigation begins in earnest. She carefully analyzes the digital crime scene photos. With all the data logged, it's time to hit the streets. But Orktown is hostile territory, so she'll need some backup. Her eyes widen as a thought strikes her. She knows the perfect person for the job. And so she heads back to the tavern to ask Yoon Hee-jun to join her investigation. His answer is a simple, resounding no. He tells her he's not interested and to go home. He wonders why he'd ever agree to such a pain. So much for being a pushover. But despite his protests, they arrive in Orktown, where they're immediately met with a hostile welcome. But the orcs' aggression fades when they recognize the tavern master. Yoon Hee-jun tries to keep things simple, asking for any information they have. But the orcs recognize him as the legendary Mad Dog of Seoul. They plead ignorance, terrified of the man who never forgets a grudge. His patience wears thin, his glare promising trouble for wasting his time. And with that, the two orcs make a very hasty, very comical retreat. Min-young questions the Mad Dog nickname, which he reluctantly confirms. He asks to go home, but she flatly refuses, dragging him along. Their investigation leads them to a local convenience store. They continue through the streets, observing the daily life of Orktown, until a drunk goblin stumbles into their path, offering a drink. Min-young continues her questioning, taking notes on the locals. But the residents of Orktown are less than forthcoming with information. The investigation drags on through the winding, unfamiliar streets. After hours of walking, her patience is wearing dangerously thin. She complains about the wasted time while Yoon Hee-jun has apparently been shopping. But then she spots a familiar face down a side alley. It's Kim Deok-bae, the orc priest from the tavern. He seems to be consoling a very distressed-looking goblin. Their hands come together in a moment of quiet prayer. A somber ritual taking place in the middle of the bustling town. Min-young and Yoon Hee-jun approach the familiar orc priest. Kim Deok-bae seems lost in thought, until he senses their presence behind him. They call out, getting his attention. He confirms that there is indeed a problem, and that their arrival is perfectly timed for it. Min-young looks on, surprised by the coincidence. He leads them toward a nearby construction site. His fist clenches, a sign of the trouble ahead, where a strange, cloaked group has gathered in the shadows. A cloaked orc begins a sermon about their people's history. He speaks of a time when they were a proud and mighty race, living in a land of plenty where no one ever went hungry. They answered to only one being, the great Lord of Death. But one day they were dragged through a dimensional rift. The new world they faced was cramped and foul. This small town was a pale shadow of their former home. But they accepted their new reality, knowing they were uninvited guests. He claims they were the first to reach out for harmony. But in return, humans treated them with nothing but scorn. The crowd roars, their anger fueled by his words. Kim Deok-bae summarizes the situation for his friends. He explains that a new cult called Orcus is attacking hunters. Their beliefs are rooted in the orcs' warlike culture, where battle is honorable. The real problem is that it's become a rallying point for angry, disenfranchised orcs. He admits that despite new laws, discrimination is still a painful reality. Yoon Hee-jun dryly notes that humans can't even stop fighting each other. Min-young then asks how a traditionalist like him ended up becoming a priest. He explains that to live peacefully, orcs must understand human culture. And becoming the world's first orc priest is his way of building that bridge. Kim Deok-bae praises the tavern master's sharp understanding. Min-young wonders why they can't just talk things out over a drink. But Kim Deok-bae knows that some problems can't be solved so easily. Yoon Hee-jun's gaze hardens, cutting through the idle chatter. He decides it's time to find the idiot responsible for attacking hunters. The construction site looms over them, a monument to their conflict. Below, the cloaked figures of the Orcus cult have gathered. Their leader stokes the flames of their resentment, and the crowd responds with a unified, furious roar. He screams of their struggles, working 3 times as hard for half the pay. He asks if they will simply sit and take this injustice. The crowd roars in agreement, their fists raised in solidarity. From the shadows, our heroes watch the rally unfold. Yoon Hee-jun notes their lack of subtlety and the difficulty of identifying anyone. Min-young can only sigh, calling this entire investigation a massive pain. She decides the direct approach is best, planning to walk right through them. Her companions can only watch as she prepares to stir the pot. She steps into the crowd, politely asking for a moment of their time. Announcing they are marshals, she flashes her official identification. She explains they're investigating a nearby incident and will need their full cooperation. The crowd murmurs, wondering why marshals are in their territory. One orc in a red bandana looks particularly nervous. He slowly begins to back away from the crowd, but Yoon Ai-jun calmly points out that someone is making a run for it. The guilty-looking orc immediately bolts from the scene. Min Young shouts, trying to stop him in his tracks, but he's already disappearing down a narrow alleyway. Her frustration grows as the crowd blocks her path. She tries to push her way through the sea of cloaked figures, but the uncooperative cultists slow her pursuit to a crawl. But while she struggles, Yoon Ai-jun and Kim Deok-bae part the crowd with ease. The chase is on as the suspect flees down the alley. But Kim Deok-bae suddenly stops, his eyes wide with recognition. A scarred, gray-skinned orc blocks their path with an imposing presence. The priest utters a name, recognizing the man as Park Chun-bae, and the scarred orc returns the greeting with a cold, hard stare. As the two old acquaintances face off, the real suspect gets further away. Min-young grabs the priest's shoulder, trying to snap him out of it. She furiously reminds him that their only lead is escaping. But Kim Deok-bae seems completely frozen, lost in the moment. Her sharp command snaps the priest back to reality. As their suspect disappears into the maze of rooftops, the cloaked orc flees through the winding streets. He panics, realizing he should have quit while he was ahead. But Yoon Ai-jun is already hot on his trail. The suspect ducks into a narrow side alley. He peeks around the corner, thinking he's finally safe. He's confident that no marshal can catch him in his own territory. But Yoon Ai-jun appears, casually asking if they lost their guy. The tavern master holds him aloft, ending the chase rather abruptly. His friends arrive, surprised he caught their suspect so quickly. Kim Deok-bae leans in, ready to identify the so-called genius. But the goblin cries out for its father, and the priest realizes this isn't their guy. Yoon Ai-jun explains she's just a kid, then asks why she ran like her life was on the line. She confesses to stealing wallets from drunk hunters sleeping on the street. The revelation leaves Min-jung and Kim Deok-bae completely stunned. The scene shifts, showing the quiet rooftops of Orktown. Later, Min-jung asks if he let the young thief go, which he confirms after a stern lecture. Kim Deok-bae offers to compensate the victims, but she questions his meager priest salary. He explains he has other income streams, which only raises more questions. He explains that Orktown has to clear its own gates without hunter support. Due to past conflicts, the orcs took over their own defense, a deal the association gladly accepted. He even got permission from the Vatican, though they still call for backup on high-rank gates. After all, orcs are a strong race, with every adult possessing D-rank hunter strength. But since their suspect is at least a B rank, the list of potential culprits is very short. A thoughtful, almost pained expression crosses the priest's face. His mind flashes back to the scarred orc who blocked their path earlier. The man's cold, hard stare is burned into his memory. He confirms there is one person who fits the description perfectly. Min-young crosses her arms, wondering how they'll get a confession from this new suspect. Yoon Ai-jun explains that in times like these, there's only one solution. They need to use bait. His companions can only stare, questioning his sudden plan. And so, as night falls over the quiet streets of Orktown, a young hunter wanders through the alleys, humming a cheerful tune. He clutches a bag full of snacks, completely lost in his own world.
C-rank hunter. Now Hong Seok is just excited to share his haul with his friends.
He happily remarks on how good the snacks are with a cold drink. He continues on his way, a perfect, unsuspecting target. And from the rooftops above, a cloaked figure watches his every move. The cloaked figure watches from the shadows, his intentions hidden. He grips a heavy wrench ready to strike, but our bait is more concerned with his choice of beer for the night. He turns, finally noticing the figure that's been tailing him. A heavy boot steps forward, shattering the silence. The young hunter's face fills with pure terror. His pursuer blocks the path, a silent, imposing threat. A cold sweat breaks out as he realizes he's trapped. He clutches his snacks, completely frozen in fear. And with a jolt of adrenaline, he makes a run for it. He thinks he's just imagining things, but the attacker looms right behind him. The cloaked figure brings his weapon down with brutal force. The hunter barely dodges the blow, his snacks scattering everywhere. He looks back in pure terror, realizing the danger is very real. With no other choice, he scrambles to his feet and runs. The cloaked figure gives chase through the dark alleyways. The young hunter is thankful for a detection spell he set up earlier, but his relief is short-lived as he realizes he's still being hunted. His frantic escape leads him right into a dead end. The cloaked orc blocks the only exit, telling him the chase is over. The cloaked orc accuses him of scouting their territory for weeks. Now Hong Seok insists he was just on a food tour, an excuse that falls completely flat. He tries to look sincere, but his expression is far from convincing. The orc has heard enough, blaming the human for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. He brings the heavy wrench down with brutal intent as the terrified hunter screams for help. But the blow is stopped by a powerful green hand. A different orc steps in, blocking the attack with ease. He greets the attacker, confirming he knew it was him all along. The cloaked figure is revealed to be none other than Park Chun-bae. Kim Deok-bae confirms his suspicions, disappointed it was his old acquaintance. Park Chun-bae can only snarl his name in response. The priest calmly lectures him on the proper use of tools. His grip tightens on the heavy metal wrench, and he crushes it with his bare hand. Park Chun-bae's rage intensifies at the display of power. He reaches for a hidden weapon of his own. He lunges forward, declaring he'll use his tools however he pleases. His face is a mask of pure, unadulterated fury. But Kim Deok-bae steps forward, ready to meet the attack head-on. He brings his foot down, ready to stomp his old friend. But a sudden thought gives him pause. He realizes the rookie hunter was just bait, and that he's likely walking into a trap. He decides to retreat before the odds turn against him. The chase is on as he bolts down the alley. His face twists in rage as he tries to escape. But his path is blocked by two familiar faces. Min-young and Yoon I-jun greet him, their trap sprung. Park Chun-bae is completely cornered, with nowhere left to run. Park Chun-bae snarls, refusing to be taken down so easily. He lunges forward with a desperate attack, but Kim Deok-bae holds him back, promising he won't escape. The scarred orc can only glare, his rage boiling over. As the two orcs clash, Yoon I-jun and Min-jung watch the scene unfold. She notes it took 2 weeks for him to finally take the bait. Meanwhile, their bait, Na Hong-sok, celebrates a job well done. Min-young thanks him, explaining that marshals are too well known for undercover work. Yoon I-jun praises his high mana sensitivity, saying he has the potential to be a great mage. The young hunter beams, declaring his dream is to become an S-rank hunter someday. Min-young asks about his time in Orktown. He excitedly explains that while it was scary at first, the food tour was an absolute blast. A review that seems to have won over his audience. But he checks his watch, realizing he has to leave for a raid. He confirms with Yoon I-jun that their deal is complete. The young hunter celebrates his reward, a month of free drinks. With a final wave, he heads off for the night. Min-jung remarks on his youth, but Yoon I-jun reveals a surprising truth. Apparently, their C-rank bait is actually 26 years old. Min-jung is stunned, realizing their bait is the same age as the orc priest. She wonders if babyface is his hunter trait, desperate for his skincare routine. But Yoon I-jun's focus is elsewhere, knowing the final act is about to begin. All that's left is to capture the culprit who's now cornered down the alley. Park Chun-bae's fist crackles with raw, untamed power. He lunges at Kim Deok-bae with a furious roar, but the priest meets his gaze, completely unflinching. Their fists connect in a brutal clash of strength. The impact echoes through the narrow alleyway. Kim Deok-bae holds his ground, his expression hardening with resolve. Park Chun-bae's face is a mask of pure, unyielding rage. Their fists meet in a brutal, bone-jarring clash. The force of the impact sends them both stumbling backward. The two orcs stand locked in a tense standoff in the narrow alley. Kim Deok-bae asks if his old friend is truly the serial killer they've been hunting. Park Chun-bae confirms it, but clarifies that he only targets humans. The priest questions his motives, but the answer is apparently obvious. He rants about the injustice of their world, claiming orcs are superior in every way. He believes they are the rightful rulers of this world. A classic villain monologue. Kim Deok-bae realizes this is all a prelude to war, a fact Park Chun-bae doesn't deny. Park Chun-bae furiously rejects this idea, calling it defeatist talk. Kim Deok-bae tries to reason with him, but is immediately cut off. His old friend reminds him of his lineage as the 17th chieftain. He calls him a disgrace for abandoning his warrior's blood for a human faith. But the priest calmly explains that in a world of humans, coexistence is the only path. Park Chun-bae calls it nonsense, a betrayal of their very identity. Kim Deok-bae sadly calls him brother, his hope for a peaceful resolution fading. But the scarred orc's gaze is cold, his mind already made up. The priest realizes that their friendship can't bridge this divide. With a snarl, Park Chun-bae decides he's heard enough talk. He sheds his cloak, his eyes glowing with a menacing light. Kim Deok-bae's gaze hardens, his own power flaring to life. Park Chun-bae declares that words are now meaningless between them. He says there's only one way left for them to communicate. The priest clenches his fist, understanding what must be done. As warriors, they will accept this path. The two former friends leap apart, preparing for their battle. Kim Deok-bae reveals a massive tattoo of his own, and formally challenges his brother to an honorable duel. A sacred orc tradition for when diplomacy fails and it's time to punch out your differences. For orcs, the victor's word becomes the absolute truth, and for any warrior who refuses to accept the outcome, the only path left is to fight until their very last breath. The battle begins as Park Chun-bae lunges forward with a furious blow. Kim Deok-bae takes the hit, his expression hardening. The two trade powerful blows in the narrow, grimy alley. Park Chun-bae presses his attack, his rage fueling every strike. Nearby, the rookie's snacks lie forgotten on the ground, the true casualties of this conflict. He follows up with a powerful kick, aimed right at the priest's head. The blow connects with brutal, resounding force. But Kim Deok-bae holds his ground, his expression unyielding. Park Chun-bae leaps into the air, declaring this a dead end. The priest dodges the powerful blow, rolling away from the impact. His opponent lands with surprising agility, and the two continue their high-speed exchange of blows. The priest is knocked to the ground, his opponent looming over him. Park Chun-bae mocks him for scurrying away. He screams his old friend's name, asking if running is all he knows. The two clash again amidst the steel beams of the construction site. He questions if the priest's warrior blood has thinned from following human faith. But Kim Deok-bae's expression hardens with resolve. Park Chun-bae's face twists with rage and betrayal. He screams about the vow they made as children, a promise to fight for their people, sealed over juice boxes. He demands to know if his brother has forgotten that oath. But Kim Deok-bae catches the blow, his face a mask of sorrow. He asks if his old friend truly believes it was all a lie. With a tighter grip, he gives a simple, firm answer. No. The priest's resolve seems to crackle with energy. He declares that his devotion to his people has never wavered for a single moment. But Park Chun-bae calls his words nonsense, grabbing him. He questions if his brother's actions are truly for their people. With a roar, he lifts the priest into the air and slams him down for bowing to the humans. The impact echoes through the empty alleyway. Kim Deok-bae is left kneeling in the dust. His old friend accuses him of forgetting what it means to be a warrior. But as the priest rises, a dark aura begins to form. He quietly questions the meaning of that word and turns to face him, his eyes now glowing with power. He asks if throwing lives away in a pointless fight is truly warrior-like. His own power continues to build. As he lands a devastating blow of his own, the impact sends a shockwave through the alley. Park Chun-bae is sent reeling from the sheer force. He insists his actions are for their people, but the priest isn't listening. Kim Deok-bae reminds him that he was the one who said words were pointless. In a duel, the winner's word is law, so he should stop talking and start fighting. His words only fuel Park Chun-bae's unbridled rage, and the brutal clash between the two brothers continues. Min Young asks if they should really just stand by and watch, but Yoon Jun explains that for orcs, this duel is a sacred ritual. She compares it to a children's card game, which is surprisingly accurate. He then points out a key detail. Kim Deok-bae has no scars. Despite raiding A-rank gates, his lack of wounds proves his immense strength. He assures her that among orcs, their friend is an absolute top-tier fighter, a fact that leaves Min Jung completely stunned. Meanwhile, Park Chun-bae rages, knowing he's grown stronger for his people. He questions why he can't win, why victory eludes him. He refuses to believe he's weaker than a traitor who serves human gods. He screams in denial, refusing to accept this outcome. But a strange voice whispers in his mind. It tells him that his god, Orcus, has already abandoned him. It urges him to stop clinging to a false deity, and to take its hand to claim overwhelming power. Then, he can rip apart the traitor blocking his path, again and again until nothing is left. Park Chun-bae lets out a furious roar, his eyes glowing. Kim Deok-bae can only watch in stunned silence. He realizes his old friend is about to make a terrible choice. A monstrous form lands a devastating blow on the priest. The impact echoes through the construction site, sending Kim Deok-bae flying through the air and crashing hard against the far wall. Park Chun-bae roars, his body now twisted into a demonic form. Min Young recognizes the signs of a demonic transformation and realizes his aura is now at least A-rank. Yoon Jun, however, seems completely unfazed by the power-up. The demonic orc stands over the wreckage, his duel forgotten. As Kim Deok-bae spits out a mouthful of blood, Kim Deok-bae rises, questioning his old friend's new form. He realizes with horror that Park Chun-bae has let demonic mana corrupt him. In the middle of their sacred duel, the priest's disappointment hardens into pure fury. He declares that using outside power is a betrayal of a warrior's pride. He asks where the honor of the orcs is in this monstrous form, before roaring that there is none left to be found.